You can listen to the Canadian Gothic early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Include it with Prime.
The man got into an argument with someone and intentionally directed snow from the blower at them.
This is a local story to me. If you Google drunk raccoon or trashed panda, I'm sure you'll see it.
It's pretty crazy to see this many dead birds out on the pond here.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. Tonight, on episode 192 of Keep Canada Weird, you and I are going to break down some interesting Canadian news stories from the past week. But before we do, let me ask, how are you and how have things been over the last, 6.5 days since we spoke last?
Things have been good. Just kind of getting ready for my Christmas break. We have our office Christmas party that is tomorrow night.
Oh, don't be that guy.
Sometimes I'm that guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
okay,
sometimes.
We'll follow up with how that went next week.
I will update you next week. Yeah, but I had an interesting evening just before we recorded. I had a bit of a situation here.
Oh, here at the compound? The airport compound?
Yeah, at the airport compound.
Okay, tell us about it.
So what was happening is I was laying on the couch and I was actually reading the stories for tonight.
You call that you were researching.
Yeah, researching.
Or doing journalism, but yeah.
Yeah. And I could tell the cat was up to something.
Okay.
He was up to something. And I could just tell by the sounds of his movement that it was something unusual.
Okay.
So, because he was moving around a lot. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like he found something.
Oh, no.
So anyway, sure enough, he's kind of trotting along the couch, not on the couch, but like near the couch. And I could just tell that he's got something in his mouth.
Oh, gosh.
Sure enough, it's a mouse, right?
Oh, because they're coming inside because it's cold outside for mice. And it's been especially cold in Nova Scotia the last week or so. So this mouse think he's getting out of the cold and going to a safe place. Ken Tiggs had other plans?
He had other plans, yeah. So Ken Tiggs is pumped and he's just tossing this thing around. Still alive. I've seen him do this before with mice that he's caught in the past.
Okay.
And what he does is he toys with the thing for the longest time before he kills it.
That's sick, cat.
So he carries it around in his mouth and then he puts it down and he stares at it and then it takes off and then he chases it and catches it again. And he likes to do that over and over and over again until eventually he beats the thing to death.
Oh, God. Nature is so cruel.
I know.
But he probably had the night of his life doing that.
But I was not. I was like, you know what? I understand that it's nature. You enjoy this. This is your thing. But either kill it or don't, and I'll do something. So he kept doing this thing where, he catches it, lets it go, chases it, catches it, beats it around. And I finally saw an opportunity to save the life of this little mouse. So I found a little container, a little Tupperware container. And I snuck over while he was staring at it and whomp, I covered it right away.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I got the thing covered. It's still alive. And then I went and got like a plastic bag, the kind that you would, like a Glad plastic bag that you would put in a little bin or like a, little small trash can, like a bathroom trash can.
Mm-hmm. We call them kitchen catchers in the industry.
Oh, do you? Yeah, a kitchen catcher. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need something to slide under and then I need something to contain this thing because I have to drive it, a kilometer or so away and let it go. So I need to contain it, right? So okay. I decided.
I just want to put a pin in that because I do want to come back to why the mouse needs to be so far from your house, but we'll address that next. So keep going. I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Okay, so I have it under the container, and then I get the plastic bag, and I'm starting to just slowly slide the plastic bag underneath the container, and then I finally got it deep enough into the bag that I can tie the bag shut. And I'm like, okay, I got to get him out now because he's stuck in this bag and his oxygen is going to run pretty low pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I run outside with the container into the car. I drive about 1 kilometer away, and then I pull over on the side of the road where there's a little trail going into the woods. And then I open up the bag, and I'm like kind of shaking the bag, and eventually he jumps out, and
Okay.
I'm like, okay. And I feel bad he's in the snow or whatever, but this is better than the alternative. And
But let me ask, why did you need to bring it so far from your house?
what the experts say is that you have to drive it at least, they say like at least a mile away, or else it's going to make its way back into the house.
Okay, yeah. I guess I would remember how it got in. I never would have thought of that. I would have just opened the door and shoot it out. And I guess then it would have just ran back in, and I would have woke up that night with a dead mouse on my bed or something. Oh, that was a fascinating story. That was exciting. What a great way to start the show. But we do got to get into it here. Before we can get into the weird Canadian news stories, we have to do what we always do and show each other what we're going to be drinking tonight to make the night extra special. You probably know, if you follow my social media, that there's a Dollar Tree that recently opened in Halifax.
I did, yeah.
I go all the time just because there's crowds of people lining up there, and I feel like I'm missing out by not getting in line and trying to get into the dollar store. Turns out there's not really anything I like in there, with the exception of this brand of carbonated drinks. The brand name is Joy Burst, and there's a huge variety of flavors, and they're sweetened with erythritol, which is like a sugar-free, carb-free sweetener. And I have a cream soda flavored Joy Burst Super Soda here. And I've been drinking them since Dollar Tree opened. And they're delicious. And I'm excited to crack this one open and sip on it as we break down the stories. What do you got to keep you company over there?
I have a herbal tea. It is Bengal spice flavor. I believe it's by Celestial, I think is the brand name of the tea.
I see that tea all the time. I'm surprised to see you with a hot tea. This may be the first time in Keep Canada Weird's 192 episodes that you pulled out an herbal tea.
Yeah, this is the first time.
You're not sick or anything. You just wanted something different.
No. I just, I bought some recently, and I've been it's winter time, and I'm just ready to take things up a notch. And I haven't sipped it yet. I have tried this tea flavor before. It's delicious, but I am going to sip this one right now.
Well, try something different in terms of a special drink, because the show is going to start off a little different than normal. We very rarely venture outside of Canada on this show, but I got so many requests to cover a specific story out of Virginia that we do have to start the show with this. Rather than play you all the different voicemails I got recommending this story, I created a little bit of a collage. You're going to hear correspondents named Shelby, Dave, and Lee, and they will tell us why we need to venture outside of Canada at the start of this episode.
Hey, Jordan, this is David from Reno, Nevada, faithful listener and love your podcast. Hey, I didn't know if you guys heard about the drunk raccoon that passed out in the liquor store in the state of Virginia, and I realize it's not Canadian. May I want to look that one up?
It involves the animal uprising, and although this isn't about an animal trying to take over, they are creating havoc, and I think they're getting ready for a party.
Jordan and Aaron, this is Lee, your Virginia correspondent. I'm sure I'm not the first, probably won't be the last, to point out or direct you to the raccoon that broke into the liquor store. And this is a local story to me. If you Google drunk raccoon or trashed panda, I'm sure you'll see it.
I have my finger on the pulse of Canadian news. American and international news often goes way over my head. I completely missed this story, but when I started getting these requests to cover it, I looked it up, and I see why so many people are contacting us about this story out of Virginia. It's a very Keep Canada Weird story, with the exception of the geography of it. A liquor store security guard in Virginia walked into a scene straight out of Keep Canada Weird fan fiction. Smashed whiskey bottles scattered across the floor, puddles of liquor everywhere, and a raccoon passed out in the bathroom like some kind of bachelor party casualty. Here's the story of the trashed panda of Virginia.
Right on that shelf, a now infamous raccoon taking one of the first tumbles of what would be a wild night. Video obtained by NBC News shows the critter inside a Virginia liquor store. Then, as it makes its way down the aisle and scampers around the broken bottles it knocked over. The aftermath going viral. A trashed panda splayed out next to a trash can and toilet, like that one person that maybe had one too many at the holiday party. It all unfolding in Ashland, Virginia over the Thanksgiving weekend.
I was just like, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
At least he got to the bathroom when he passed out.
According to the Virginia Alcoholic Beverage Control Authority, the masked bandit dropped in from the store ceiling, drunky raccoon, then checked into the room only to find lots of boozy bottles. The damage? 14 bottles worth about $250. If you're wondering how a raccoon wets its whistle, this particular one appeared to have a taste for rum, scotch, moonshine, peanut butter whiskey, and eggnog. Security was alerted, which prompted a search of the store and the comical reveal once the officer arrived.
When she told me at first, I thought she was apprehending a human subject. And I'm like, we don't do that.
The raccoon was then transported to an animal shelter so it could sober up.
Just looking at this raccoon being so lethargic, laying there, the officer stated the eyes were moving back and forth, and just kind of, okay, telltale signs that he's probably been a little drinking. So
more than likely would have failed a field sobriety test.
More than likely, the officer said she had no problem picking the raccoon up.
The shelter posting the aftermath on Facebook, and the rest is drunk history.
And one thing I've learned on Keep Canada Weird is that raccoons get into all kinds of trouble. We've talked about meth raccoons. You remember the raccoons who were passed out of meth?
Yeah.
Now alcohol raccoons, and we've had a million other raccoon stories. But what do you make of this one? Does this surprise you to hear?
Well, the mental health of raccoons is definitely in question now because obviously they're substance abusers.
Yeah, it seems as though.
I think the more, the studies that are coming out saying that raccoons are becoming more domesticated the closer they become to humans.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're adapting our unhealthy lifestyles as well. It doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
Does it surprise you that it drank the alcohol, though? I would have thought that the taste of alcohol would scare an animal off.
Maybe, but I mean, some alcohols taste delicious.
Yeah, and
I've noticed.
Yeah, they mentioned in this one of the things that the raccoon drank was peanut butter whiskey, I think. I've never heard of that. And, I'm not a drinker, but I would like to try like a peanut butter whiskey. That sounds good.
It does sound good. And I'm sure the raccoon thought the same thing because I can see a raccoon loving peanut butter.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they could probably, with their super noses, smell right through that bottle and say, that's the one I want.
Mm-hmm. Well, the raccoon didn't open the bottles, just to be clear. I think what happened is it was on the roof of this building, must have got through an air vent or some kind of duct or something. It fell into the building, knocked down a couple bottles when it did, and then it must have just got on the ground and licked it up from puddles or something like that. But I guess there'd be enough sugar or something, or in that alcohol that may have given it enough of a taste for the raccoon to enjoy it. And I don't think a raccoon would have had to drink too much hard liquor to get smashed. One other thing is, in that news report, it mentioned moonshine. I didn't know you bought moonshine.
I didn't know that either. I thought that was just mixing a bunch of stuff together in a bucket and then calling it moonshine.
Like on a farm somewhere. There is one positive update to come out of this story before we move on to the weird Canadian news stories. I want to play you a bit of an update related to the animal shelter / vet that took over when this raccoon was taken in by the police. Listen to the positive spin they managed to put on this.
Now, do you all remember that raccoon found passed out drunk in a liquor store in Virginia? It's now raising money, not for the bar tab, but for the place that helped it dry out. The Hanover County Animal Shelter, which responded and released it safely back into the wild. So it's out there somewhere. It has now put together a line of merchandise honoring its thirsty friend, because this is what you do these days. So far, the sales have raised more than $150,000 to pay for programs at the shelter and to help other animals.
And some good marketing. They came up with trashed panda because some people call raccoons trash pandas. They came up with trashed pandas, selling shirts and stuff. They managed to make, as we heard there at the time of airing, 150,000-ish, and that's American, so almost 200 grand Canadian. That's a good chunk of change that will go on to help some people. So this raccoon took one for the team.
Yeah, I'm glad that there was able to be some sunshine put onto this dark story, and I wish this raccoon all the best, and hope that rehab is effective for him.
I hope so too. But let's go back across the border. Let's come home to Canada. We're going to take our first break. When we come back, we have a duo of. We're going to start with the WTF stories this week. We just have two weird and unique Canadian news stories from last week to get into. One's going to involve a snowblower, and one of them is going to involve an interesting twist on parking enforcement that the city of Winnipeg dreamt up. We'll get to it after this break. I got a good one here, Handsome Aaron Airport. Winnipeg is toying with a system that would allow regular citizens to snap photos of parking violations and submit them directly to the city, who then in turn would mail a ticket to the offending vehicle's owner. Let's hear the story of Winnipeg's interest in parking narcs.
Del Sexsmith sees his share of people parked where they aren't supposed to, like in front of a fire hydrant or staying past their allotted time.
Well, people go into a loading zone because they rationalize they're only going to be a few minutes, and they're in 10, 15 minutes, and before you know it, you realize they're actually in violation of the no parking zone.
Sexsmith says he'd have no problem reporting these types of infractions. In fact, he'd even snap a photo with his phone for proof.
I'm very camera friendly with my phone, and if I knew there's a place it was going that would be taken seriously, I would do it.
In one day, he might be able to do just that, and a ticket would be issued. As part of their annual business plan, the Winnipeg Parking Authority wants to study a photo-based public reporting system. And based on the photos alone, tickets would be mailed to the vehicle owners. Right now, the city says parking officers are required to investigate violations, and this could free them up. We are in the very early stages of exploring if we could enforce less serious parking violations using public submitted photographs alone. The city also says this measure could help with enforcement when officers are not available or the reported vehicle is moved by the time they get there.
So I guess it's a sense of community accountability, right?
We posed the question to people, would they turn in fellow drivers parked illegally by taking and submitting pictures?
Would I? That's a good question. Maybe if I was walking, I don't think I would stop driving to do something like that.
Olivia Olford admits she sometimes parks where she shouldn't because there is not enough on-street parking, so she's against it.
I don't think it's fair to have people penalizing other people, just trying to get through their day and park where they have to park.
We opened the show with you telling a story about mice, but let me ask you, if you could do this, would you be a rat?
Only if I had a personal vendetta against that person.
Like outside your house
would
or
I
something?
do it? Outside of the parking stuff, like it's somebody I know.
Okay. You'd follow them around?
Yeah, and wait till they illegally park, snap the photo, email it in, and then enjoy the fact that I know they're getting a ticket.
Yeah, but remember, it's 2025. You could probably also just get a photo of their car, use AI, and put them parked in all sorts of places.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking during this story. Like, how are they going to tell that the photo's real in this day and age?
Yeah, it's seriously, like, so many people will be goofing off on, like, messing with this. I think this is just a recipe for problems if they went ahead with it.
Yeah, and you know what would start happening is that people would start to get so irritated, the fact that we're self-policing ourselves when it comes to parking, that you're going to see over time people trying to get photos of people taking photos is what's going to happen. So you're out catching somebody illegally parking and snapping a photo, but then there's somebody around the corner snapping a photo of you and putting you online as the parking rat.
The parking prick. Yeah. And there's a funny contrast between this story, like the Winnipeg considering this program. And it was just a few episodes ago, we talked about Hamilton, who was trying to get the guy to take down all his security cameras, the guy who managed to like help catch a serial killer with his security cameras and all that. It's just a weird kind of take on allowing the public to take part in law or bylaw or parking enforcement. This would be such a wreck. What I know enough about people to know that if a city the size of Winnipeg tried to do something like this, it would just be pure chaos. It would lead within a month, people would be just like fist fighting in the streets over this.
And also the amount of nonsense photos that they would get that aren't even actual parking violations, like just silly things of like the color of somebody's car. Like, it's an eyesore car, so I'm going to send a photo to the parking violators.
It would be interesting to work in that department, though, like who actually go through the photos and send out the bills and stuff. There would be, it would just be a train wreck. I think they're just wasting their time talking about this. Something like this, maybe in a perfect world could work, but I guess in a perfect world, we would all park legally. Anyone out there in Keep Canada Weirdland, I'd be interested to hear if you think this is a good idea. What do you think would come out of this if it was passed? And would you take photos and turn your neighbors into the authorities? But let's move on to the next story here. We have another weird one, another very Keep Canada weird one. Police in Sault Ste. Marie say a neighborhood dispute escalated in the most Keep Canada weird way possible. A man is facing charges after allegedly weaponizing his snowblower.
A 57-year-old man was charged with assault Sunday morning following an incident with a snowblower. According to Sioux police, the man got into an argument with someone and intentionally directed snow from the blower at them. No injuries were reported, and police say the victim and the accused knew one another.
Yeah, the news story is short and sweet, but this is a complicated one. We're doing a lot of callbacks tonight, but this reminds me of the story we covered of the woman who sprayed the neighbor with a water gun and ended up facing charges. I'm sure you remember that one. Assault, you don't need to punch someone in the face to get charged with assault. You could do something as silly as direct the snowblower chute and blow snow at them. I guess it could have caused damage, though, because when you snowblow, you're spitting out like chunks of salt and ice and maybe some rocks and everything else. But what do you think's going on here? We don't know much about it from the news report, so let's read between the lines.
I'm sure there was some dispute over where this person was blowing the snow. Because when you're snow blowing and you're choosing the direction as to where you're going to blow the snow away from your driveway, but sometimes, depending on how close you are to your neighbors, that could be shooting it into your neighbor's driveway. And maybe that neighbor got upset over that, an argument ensued, and then the guy directed his, whatever you would call it, his spout towards the neighbor and said, take that.
I think it's called a chute, I believe, but
yeah, that sounds much more accurate than a spout.
How do you get in an argument while snowblowing? Because the machine is so loud. You would like one neighbor, his mouth would just be moving, but you wouldn't hear anything he was saying.
But he could have stopped the snowblower, continued the argument, and then got heated. And then turns the snowblower back on and starts shooting it at the neighbor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it would be pretty offensive. One man's assault is another person's pleasure, though. I'll tell you, when I snowblow, my kids love it. When they stand on the side of the driveway and I direct the chute right at them. And when I snowblow, snow is just flying at them and they just love it. They turn around, just to protect their faces, they turn around to get it in the back. But that's like... That's a bit of fun in my house, but I can see how it could be assault. I think if my neighbor did that to me, I'd be pretty upset, especially in the heat of a verbal argument.
Yeah. I'd be upset too, especially with the risk of pebbles.
But this is going to go to court. Sadly, not going to court for several months, though. But it would be interesting to see if there's an actual assault conviction in a case like this. I can't imagine a judge would throw the book at someone for this sort of thing, but I guess we don't know the particulars of the case.
No, we don't. There's a lot unsaid in this news coverage, so maybe we'll hear an update at some point in time.
Do you want a little update related to a prior story that we covered on episode 191?
I'd love that.
We talked about the Amelia Earhart statue. We talked about the statue disappearing, the city offering a reward, the woman whose son recently got out of jail for stealing copper, found the copper statue, and the city is reluctant to pay her and wants a polygraph test. I wouldn't say I have an update for that story, but I do have a listener who has a theory. We have a listener named Charlotte, and she has a theory on how the statue was actually found by this woman. We talked about, during episode 191, we were pretty suspicious about the way she found the statue. Her story, if you don't recall, was that she was in the car with her dog. Her dog needed to pee, so she pulled off on like a kind of a gravel road off of the highway, let the dog out of the car. The dog ran into the woods to use the bathroom, and then barked and hooted and hollered until she came over and found the statue. And you suggested that it was like some kind of like copper sniffing cadaver dog, perhaps, that she had. We have a listener named Charlotte who has a bit of a different theory on it. Listen to this.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron. This is Charlotte from Texas. I was just listening to the story about the copper statue of Amelia Earhart, and I was thinking, okay, the dog might not have been barking at the actual statue. Maybe the culprits were still somewhere in the woods and the dog was barking at them and they were just hiding or something. I don't know. Let me know what you think.
So we talked about how how suspicious it is because it's such a coincidence that the person who found the statue in this unusual way happens to have a son who is a convicted copper thief. We thought that was a huge coincidence. Could you imagine if there was another layer to coincidence, that the people who stole the statue happened to be there to collect the statue like 4 months later at the exact time that she pulled over to allow her dog to use the bathroom?
Yeah, I find that one a little tough to believe, I think. I mean, clearly she stole or was involved, at least relationally, with whomever took the statue. And yeah, she's connected in some capacity. And I think that her dog is just an innocent bystander in this whole affair.
I think you may be right. I think it would be. I like the voicemail, Charlotte, and I like your line of thought, but I don't believe that the other crooks were hiding in the forest at the exact time that a woman whose son was in jail for copper theft pulled over. Just don't see it. Let's take a quick break, our final break of the night. When we get back, we have some interesting stories. We have 2 stories that involve disgusting natural wonders that found themselves in the news here in Canada over the past week. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we are going to hear about what may be the stinkiest tree in all of Canada. Handsome Aaron Airport, I promised you a duo of disgusting natural wonders that found their way into the news in Canada last week. Let's start with a stinky tree. Nova Scotia's Annapolis Royal Historic Gardens got a surprise this fall, and it was a very stinky one. Their nearly 40-year-old ginkgo tree reached the age of maturity, and its gender is now revealed. But sadly, this tree is a female, and female ginkgo trees absolutely stink, like dog poop and puke. Here's the story of the stinky tree.
Oh, whew. Yep, that is rancid.
Staff at the Annapolis Royal Historic Gardens were surprised to learn recently that a tree they planted in the 1980s is not what they thought. It's not a male ginkgo tree, but a female one, which produces small fruit-like seeds. And when the seeds are crushed,
it has a just really obnoxious smell, something like dog poo or rancid butter, or even compared to vomit. It's just, I guess, pretty brutal.
Typically, only male ginkgo trees are sold commercially because the female ones produce the smelly seeds. So park manager Trish Fry and her staff admit they were a bit dismissive when a visitor this summer said they noticed the berry-shaped fruits on the tree.
And we said, yeah, no, it doesn't, because it's a male and we've never had fruit on the tree.
And that's the thing about ginkgos. You won't know what you've planted until it fully matures after a few decades.
You've been living with the ginkgo for 40 years, but then suddenly you realize it isn't quite what you thought it was. So we love it anyway, but it's not what we expected.
So why get one at all? The park's horticulturalist Ashley Viola says ginkgos are popular because they're attractive.
But the ginkgos do something really special where they drop all of their leaves all at once in sort of this carpet. So you get in the fall this carpet of yellow that's through your garden paths. So they're really, really beautiful that way as well.
Viola says ginkgos are also resilient. They're referred to as a living fossil.
And we say that because they're part of an ancient grouping of trees. They're the only species in their genus.
For those reasons, Fry says there are no plans to remove the female ginkgo tree from the historic gardens. Luckily, she says the smelly seeds don't fall until after the peak tourism season. She says they may tell future visitors to bring a nose plug just in case.
So I think we both probably learned a few things about trees during that story. What is the fact of the story for you?
Well, it's interesting that it doesn't smell until decades later when it starts to produce these seeds or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tree goes through puberty at like 40 years. And, you know, I'm going to show my ignorance here. I don't think I knew that there were male and female trees until like earlier
Yeah, I
today.
didn't know that either. And
okay,
yeah, no, you're not alone in your ignorance. You aren't.
Okay, good. In 40 years it took to realize that it was a female. However, they said female ginkgo trees aren't sold commercially. How the hell? Like, that's so complicated. How would they know that?
I don't know how they would know the difference when they're sorting these for sale. And
because they don't show their gender or whatever it is until they're 40 years old. So if you're buying a bunch of like small trees, like, I'm surprised this doesn't happen often. And I also want to know how bad it stinks. Like, if it made the news, it must really stink.
Well, she said it smelled like poo, as she put it. She was very musical in her delivery of a dog poo.
But it's she had the seeds very close to her. Like, is it the kind of thing where like the whole park like stinks because of this thing? Like, Annapolis Royal is not too far from where I am. I'm kind of thinking next year I may make a trip down
just to smell it,
just to hit Robbins, and then go in and just see how bad this is. I could take some of those seeds home and get into trouble.
Yeah, one of these days we're going to do a tour of like our most popular stories that we've covered on the podcast, where we visit the actual sites of these stories. And we should put this one on the list and get a good whiff of this tree at the
Yeah, I'd be interested. Ginkgo trees are really interesting. If you look at the leaves on them, rather than a normal leaf would have like one main vein down the center with all these smaller veins going in each direction, if you know what I mean, like the way the leaf is shaped. But a ginkgo tree doesn't have that. It has like almost like 15 or 20 main like veins that just go in like kind of like straight lines throughout the leaf. If you look at a ginkgo leaf, there's no other leaves like it. And I think that's really cool.
And that goes back to why people would want one of them, because they're so aesthetically pleasing. But then you're just running the risk of 40 years later just being the complete nose sore of the neighborhood if you've got one of these in your
that could be a
yard.
problem. My mom had, this is my second week in a row bringing up my mom on Keep Canada Weird. Last week it was because she wrote LOL under a Facebook post where someone was mourning a loved one. She thought it meant lots of love, and I had to set her straight. But my mom also had a house years ago, and it had this really nice bush. I think it was called a weeping willow, and it was on the front, like near the front entranceway, and it was like this beautiful, like kind of bush thing. But then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 years after living in this house, it just like it was filled with these little black berries, and it dropped them all over the yard, and it was like the house was almost unlivable. These berries, like it was almost paint coming out of them. So it was all over the walkways. It get on your shoes, get in the house. You'd bring it in your car. You'd end up getting it on your hands, and it would stain your skin. It was like it was an absolute nuisance. And maybe that's a little bit like what the people at the Annapolis Royal Park are dealing with. But yeah, I agree with you. We'll go down there and we will check it out sometime when we do a Keep Canada Weird tour. But let's move on to the next story, our final story of the night, and it is another natural wonder that is disgusting. This one's a little bit darker than stinky seeds falling off a ginkgo tree in Nova Scotia. Southern Manitoba is experiencing a massive die-off of Canadian geese. Here's the story of a ton of dead geese.
It's pretty crazy to see this many dead birds out on the pond here.
Niverville resident Mason Goulet says seeing so many dead geese when he came home from work on Tuesday was shocking.
Over the past couple of weeks, the numbers have been going up more and more. So you come home yesterday and there was actually one dead on right on our deck there.
Goulet says this latest die-off is the largest he has seen since October, when he started to notice more dead birds around. Take a look at the pond behind his house. He suspects avian flu may be to blame.
There's now about 30 or 40 as of the past couple days here, so it's spreading pretty quickly now.
And that suspicion was confirmed Wednesday by a federal biologist. Frank Baldwin with the Canadian Wildlife Service says these geese died due to the current strain of avian influenza virus.
Really what's happening is they mingle with ducks, and then when we get cold weather, they get highly concentrated, and the virus moves through the population very quickly.
Hannah Wallace studies infectious diseases like avian influenza at the University of Manitoba Kindrachuk Lab. She says the disease has been deadly for birds over the last 4 years. Wallace says there is low risk to humans, but pets need to be kept away from dead birds.
So you have to choose. Would you rather toxic, stinky seeds that smell like poo and vomit and rotten butter, or dead birds? Piles of dead birds in your yard.
I think I'll take the stinky tree. I think it's an obvious choice there. I would not want, and geese are big birds too. It's not like they're little, tiny little birds, tweedledee or whatever.
Yeah, these aren't songbirds. These are bigger than, like a Canada goose is bigger than a cat for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're huge. And imagine just having dozens and dozens of them dead in your backyard. It's
disgusting. And the imagery that we see in this news clip we just watched, it's this guy's backyard. He has like a big back patio and it had a dead Canadian goose on it. But behind his backyard looks like a big lake or something. It was frozen over, and all along the ice was just all these dead frozen birds. It was pretty much a horror show. But what I never really thought about is in the winter, geese, like they travel south and stuff, and they like get in a group and are in tight quarters. So I guess like a flu would spread really quickly among a pack of birds. So I could see how this could happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And bird flu is becoming a concerning issue amongst the...
You hear about it a lot. I'm glad humans can't catch it. I don't think
there is one case that I heard of where there was, recently a guy, and maybe this was fake news, I don't know, but there was a guy that was the first case of, bird flu being transferred over.
He's got some explaining to do to his wife.
No, that's not fair.
Why him? What are the chances? This lady in Newfoundland didn't find the statue miraculously.
Suggesting that avian bird flu is an STD?
No, but I'm suggesting it's. I would just want to know what this one guy did that got him so close that he ended up catching it. Maybe it's some weird thing about his immune system and he touched something that a sick bird touched. I just think it's I don't know.
That's not what you suggested earlier.
If it was me and I somehow caught the first case of like human avian bird flu, I'd be so embarrassed.
Just wear protection when you're around birds.
What are people going to think?
Make sure the bird is covered.
Yeah. Good God. Anyway, it's just, I thought this was an interesting story. I think we have covered some other animal that was found in large quantities dead. Do you remember any other similar story like this in all of Keep Canada Weird history?
Actually, not to always be going back to raccoons, but remember the story maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, about all the dead raccoons in Toronto?
Yes, but I don't remember what the cause was. Do you have any memory of that?
I don't think there was a specific cause detail, but I think it was just kind of talking about all of the dead raccoons that people were coming across in the city.
Yeah. If you think we've done 192 episodes of Keep Canada Weird, we do generally 4 or 5 news stories per episode. If you think we've done 192 episodes of Keep Canada Weird, we do generally 4 or 5 news stories per episode. Like, we've covered a lot of weird stuff, and I do enjoy the different trends that pop up. Like we find so many stories about teenagers behaving badly. We hear so many stories about animals attacking humans in interesting and creative ways. We hear about so many fascinating scams. And of course, we have so many slow news day stories. And they're my favorite. But sadly, they're few and far between lately because there's just always something bad for the news to report on. We need
I know.
We need a period of peace. So Keep Canada Weird will have we'll be fed like a steady supply of, weird things happening at a bingo hall in New Brunswick or something.
Maybe we need to go out and create these things. So we'll say, we'll be fabricating, I guess, in a way, because we're creating the stories ourselves so we can cover them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'm the one stealing all the butter just to keep the story going so that we keep our jobs. Reporting on the stolen butter.
Speaking of weird stories that we create, this isn't one we create, but something we've been compiling lately is stories related to holes. We called out to listeners asking them to send us stories that are interesting and in some way involve a hole. This all comes from a kid named Lyndon who sent us a voicemail about the trouble he got into digging a hole with his friends. That led to more hole stories. We called out, and I now have a folder on my laptop full of stories related to holes that I'm sitting off to the side, and I think it may end up like entirely tires or specifically stairs. We are probably going to have, not by our own choice, but by the correspondence decision, we're probably going to have a hole special. We have a correspondent named Jess, and she has a really good idea for the name for our whole episode. Listen to this.
Hey, it's Jess from Ottawa. I'm just listening to your most recent Keep Canada Weird, and I have a proposition for the name of your whole series, if you do one. I would call it, I can't even say the word, Holy Holes, like WHOLLY. It's along the lines of like entirely tires, specifically stairs. I cannot remember what that one was called, but yeah, Holy Holes. Okay, bye.
I was on the fence about doing a whole episode about holes. Calling it Holy Holes is actually pretty good. It's such a play on words, and it would have then kind of the subtitle, Keep Canada Weird Digs Holes.
Yeah. I think it's a great name, Holy Holes. Keep Canada Weird tells the whole story, there's a lot of play on words there that could be used for an entire episode dedicated to holes, which I knew was going to happen. I knew the listeners out there had hole stories, and now we're finally telling the whole story.
I think it's just about finding a niche. If you find a topic that's that unique, nobody has had a platform to tell stories specifically about holes, to have an episode wholly about holes. I think it's obvious, and there's so much fun stuff. Like we can, dive deep into holes with Keep Canada Weird. Keep Canada Weird digs deep into holes. We have an episode that's Holy Holes.
Right. The whole episode.
You will dig this
spelled
episode.
WHOLE, the whole episode. So the whole episode is holes, the whole episode.
Yeah, holy holes. That's like kind of what you can say if you're shocked by one of the stories.
Holy holes, yeah.
I like it. That's something we'll get to. And something else we'll get to is very soon we're going to have our next mailbag. We're getting a lot of more voicemails lately than we had been. I think the reason for it is I got all new merch. I got new Canadian Gothic stickers, Keep Canada Weird stickers. I still have some of the Halloween-themed Keep Canada Weird stickers. Anyone who has their voicemail aired on the show qualifies for a free swag pack. They had been sent in hot pink envelopes. I'm all out of hot pink envelopes. So now they're called turquoise thank you packs because they're turquoise envelopes.
Oh, I like
so
that.
If you go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact, you can send us a voicemail there. And when your voicemail's aired, you go back to that same site and there's a little form you fill out to put in your name and address. And I will send you a turquoise thank you pack for contributing your voice to the show. But with all that said, I think we've done our job tonight. Is there anything we missed? Is there anything we need to talk about?
We covered entirely and wholly all of the weird stories in Canada this week.
Then our work here is done. Handsome Aaron Airport until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop Backhoe Bonaparte until next time.
Next time you go for one of your many walks, make sure you look at how people are parking just to get a sense of, how much action you can get done if the island of Cape Breton was going to deputize you as a parking enforcement prick.
Right. And Jordan, until next time, on those walks, I'm also going to smell the trees more closely now. See if I can find one that smells like dog poo.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. A premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes, but the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
I love your show. I love listening to you guys. I love your Canada. All Canada that you are.